So hi everyone. This is Abhishek Mishra, and I welcome you all to our event, which is powered by Noun and Verb, and which is in collaboration with PMO Global Alliance.
So we have partnered with PMO Global Alliance, and that's what Abhishek is telling us. PMO Global Alliance is a global alliance of 10,000 members, all project managers and PMO professionals. And we have been fortunate enough to join hands with PMO Global Alliance.
Our agenda looks like for initial 5 minutes we will have a community update. Then we will hand it over to Karabo. So she'll be walking us through updates, and then by the end we will wrap up.
So this is the part that I'm going to walk you through. This is our community updates, and ours is our women community. Having said that, we have opened our doors to the men as well. As you see, Abhishek and few other men are also there who are supporting us. And this is our vision, mission, and values. I reiterated this in every session just to remind ourselves as well as our community members what is the vision. Our vision is to empower any individual. It could be men, it could be women, right, with the right support and the right skill, and we think we can transform the future by doing that. And our vision is to provide a platform, our mission is to provide a platform to enhance leadership qualities, and we truly believe that everyone has a unique skill, and that's why we say being good enough is amazing. And if such being good enough people come together, we can definitely power each other up, and we can together as a community we can rise. And that is what we have as part of our values, our vision, and our mission. And if you can move on, Abhishek, and this is our group inside. So how are we placed, right? We are just two groups, one in LinkedIn and one in Facebook, and we have around 400 women in these two groups, right? Some 216 in Facebook and few 250 more in LinkedIn. We think some people may be common, and that's why we say that around 400 women are there all across the globe. And we have a good participation from the United States. We actually have a country lead also from the United States now, and we are looking for country leads for other regions as well. We have been able to keep this group active. It was incepted in January 26, 2020, and since then we've been doing this kind of connects, which we call as Power Connects. This helps us and gives us a good opportunity to connect with international speakers, understand and learn their views, and also get to network with other people as well. Yes. And then last month we had Jeanette Kremer, who joined us from Australia, and she made us realize that the leadership is nothing but it starts with you. And she talked about how to find out mirror moments. That is, you think that you are a lion, but when you look into the mirror and introspect, you may see a different thing. And she also introduced us to DISC. How do you find out your personality type? Through a DISC assessment. We have got excellent feedback on that event as well. The feedback is uploaded in the form of a video to our YouTube channel. The recording of this also has been uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. And next month we will be supporting the PMO Global Alliance conference. And the PMO Global Alliance is holding a very large virtual conference, large in the sense long running conference, and it will start on October 24 to November 14. We are a supporter of that conference. We have a virtual booth also. I request everyone to go and visit us in the booth, and it is a free conference. Do register. It will be kind of a good experience for everyone. And some of our members are also speaking in that conference, and including myself. I'm doing a talk show with one of the PMO Global finalists. So please go ahead and register. I'm sure there'll be a lot of learnings as well. And we are thinking of expanding our reach to different regions as well. We don't want it to be just centralized somewhere. It is not sustainable, and we're looking for country leads. And I will ask Dr. Lynn and Karabo to help me to get the country lead from South Africa, and there's what is the country lead supposed to do? Evangelize the community and participation in the events and drive collaboration initiatives within the region of influence, and that is totally up to the country lead how they want to take it forward. And obviously when we have multiple country leads, we might exchange best practices, and these are our values as we already iterated. Yes, and we've already found a country lead from the United States, and her name is Hana Siddiqui. And if Hana is there on the call, I will request her to open the video and say hi to everyone. And she is actually a faculty member with the Boston University. She is co-creator of the Boston University Agile Innovation and Agile in Education. So she is an very, very bright professional, and we are so happy to have her on board to evangelize our values and our ways of working in the United States. And we are looking for country leads in other regions as well. Just a few minutes back, I got a confirmation from Singapore. So there is a lady who is willing to take up this role for Singapore, actually in that region as well. Oh wow! Thank you, Dr. Lin, telling me this, that your daughter, kind of graduated from Boston University. And with Hana, we are thinking of contributing to, from the corporate view of Agile in education, what should be there. She's doing a lot of research. We are not into the education field, but we think that it could be a good opportunity for us. And we have many Agile women leaders in the group, and it could be a good opportunity for others to contribute as well. Also, Hana, you're there, so if you can open up your unmute yourself and say a few words to our community.
Sure. Hi, Priya. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. So yes, Priya, thank you for the introduction. It is an honor and pleasure to be a part of this great community. It's a very powerful community, very part of our members. And yes, as Priya said, I am an educator. I am a pioneer in the usage of Agile in education. I'm the only educator in the USA to implement Agile methods, Scrum, EduScrum, and Leaf into more than 15 graduate and undergraduate courses. I'm also the co-creator and director of Agile in Education at the Boston University Agile Innovation Lab, and I'm also appointed as an executive board member there. But it is an immense pleasure to be a part of this community, let me tell you, because of the mission and the vision Women Power Up Network is carrying. And it is a great platform to be a part of. And I cannot wait as a country lead to carry out this vision and the mission of Women Power Up Network, which is to empower individuals. So we will be holding social events, community work, a lot of exciting events coming up, and we will update you. Please join us, and we're looking forward to seeing you at our future events and our community work and social events. And thank you for this opportunity, Priya, Patra, and the other Abhishek, Agaila, and the others that I haven't yet had the opportunity to meet, but looking forward to meeting you all.
So thank you, Hana, for few words, and definitely it's very encouraging as well to have you part of our community. Okay, Abhishek, I think we will have to move on quickly and let's see what we have next. Okay, so this is these are the few individuals without whom this event wouldn't have been possible. Agalya, she is the visual thinker of this entire event, the creative person behind all the flyers that you see in social media, and there is a surprise for you at the end of the session as well. So Gaurav, today he could not make it to the session, but he is a digital ambassador. He is helping us in making alliances with other communities, and so that we can grow exponentially. And Abhishek is already there, you know him. He is our communication champ, and he is instrumental in getting our newsletter, doing all the communications on social media, getting all those bright ideas in. So thank you, Agalya, Gaurav, and Abhishek, for your contributions to this community.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya.
And there's another person who is not mentioned here is Shaileja, and she has been creating all our videos that you see. Hana, your video also, was kind of made polished and put it up on the YouTube channel. So thank you, Shaileja, for that as well. All right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
So much.
Yeah.
Hi, hello everyone.
So, Abhishek, will move on. And I think we are done with the community updates, and now it's time to move on to hand it over to Karabo. I will request Abhishek to introduce Karabo and take this forward.
Welcome, Karabo. So just to give a bit of introduction about Karabo. So she is basically a dynamic businesswoman and the CEO of Cyberin System and founder of Unleash Institute. So that's the reason you might have been seeing Unleash Institute appearing in the participant list. She is the founder of Unleash Institute, a digital training consultancy. So she is a prolific speaker and all things, prolific speaker on all things for fourth industrial revolution and an advocate for inclusive digital transformation. So she has also recently developed an app called Amina, targeting the fight against gender-based violence and on campus. So that is what brief all about. And she has passion for unleash Africa into the fourth industrial revolution, and seeing women using technology to further their opportunities in business. So that is what that about Karabo. So I would hand it over to her in order to help us through. And Karabo, so the session is all yours now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Priya and the team, Woman Power, for this opportunity for us to just chat together. It's midday here in SA, so hello to everyone, no matter what time it is where you are. Isn't it absolutely beautiful what digital has done in terms of giving us access as human beings, as women, to connect and to be empowered across the board? What I love, and as mentioned now, I am very much passionate about all things digital, because oftentimes, and I'll speak, it's true across the world, but I'll speak specifically to my context, which I know will resonate with most of you. Lots of us find ourselves in our homes, in our communities, in our nations, where as women we're told we cannot, and we know we can. And unfortunately, oftentimes we're not given the coaching, mentoring resources that we need to get going. But what digital has enabled us to do is to try to go beyond those people that say we cannot, that don't want to coach us, that don't want to give us resources, and connect with people like yourselves all over the globe that will fill that gap. So I'm really excited to be connected with just a movement like this that's saying, don't be concerned about who says you can't in your proximity. Connect with us, because we know you can, and together we can. So absolutely excited. I will be very much looking at the chat as I'm going along, so you're welcome to chat, comment, ask questions, and I will pick them up. If I don't, Priya, you'll be my lady, just to bring it out. But welcome to stop me and keep going as we're going along. So I'll be talking about the fundamentals of Ubuntu and possibly how that could be one of the ways that we rebuild ourselves, our families, and our businesses and societies as we get into this new normal. Now, as an African, I'm brought up inherently with the belief that we are connected. The whole world is connected. So Those of you that are very much into your geography and all those things, you'll know of a concept called Pangea, where the scientific understanding is that once upon a time, over 250 million years ago, the world was one, as in we all neatly fitted, all continents were together. And part of this philosophy and belief is that Africa was at the core. And so you can trace ancestries and you can trace, just when it comes to animals and all of that and how they've moved everywhere across the world. And what happened was, this magma under the earth would bubble up and find the weak crusts in the Earth's surface, and finally you found the separation of all continents to what we have today. For us, as much as we believe in the connectedness of the world, as we grew up, the connectedness was beyond geography, but the connectedness was in our humanity. Inherently, we believe that as much as there's black, brown, white, whatever color people, there's different languages and tribes that separate us by border. The concept of Ubuntu, or how we are brought up in the sense of our humanity, is that we understand that we are one. If you slice us all up, our blood is red. Trust me, if the scientists found any human nation or being that did not have the same composition as us and our same blood type, we would know about it. And that concept of this world connectedness that we've grown to understand, that goes beyond our geography, we call that Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the thing that defines what makes the human race and why the human race is far connected and is one beyond what is peddled through the politics of media, of economy, and of nations that seeks to tell us we are far different and separated than we think we are. Ubuntu, as we say, the full expression of Ubuntu says, Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Or in another South African language and dialect, we would say, Mutu, kimutu kabatu. Now, for most of you on this webinar, you'd be like, what? I'm still trying to get a grip on just the word Ubuntu. You've now gone and added so many other letters in there that it doesn't make sense. But effectively, the direct translation of Ubuntu is, I am because you are. Meaning my existence, my who I am, who my worth, my value, my expression is because you are. Not only do you mirror my beauty and my power, as in, as you see me, as you stand in front of me, I am able to understand inherently who I am and the power that I possess as a human being. But even as you see me and I see myself through you, as you become your beautiful and powerful self, you give me permission to also rise up and become my powerful self. So there's this connectedness, almost the circle that has no beginning, that creates a dependence between you and I. There's a saying that I love so much that says, you can't be all human by yourself. You know, there's something about you that makes you me. So this is why inherently as human beings, if someone smiles, like a stranger just walks past and smiles, their smiling unlocks the smile in you. You kind of like have to smile back, right? After, of course, you think that they're weird. When someone, which for us, even if you come to South Africa today, it is still a practice of Ubuntu. For us, we have a practice as South Africans that you greet everybody. whether you know them or don't know them, whether they like some big important person or someone society believes is not important, you greet. So when you walk down, so you can imagine everyone, and for those that are in the US, think of one of those New York streets that's absolutely busy, and you're busy walking, and everyone you see, absolute strangers, you have to say, hi, how are you? How you doing? Because for us, our humanity connects us. We are together. Effectively, Ubuntu means that we are bound together because we are human beings. There's something beyond being comrades, but that makes us hang together. It also means, which is the part that is usually not expressed and spoken about enough, it also, Ubuntu, the very philosophy of Ubuntu also fundamentally says that each individual has dignity and worth. And that I can only grow and progress as a person through the growth and progression of others. So it's not just some theoretical human beings are just generally connected, but that every single one has value and has worth that must be unlocked and realized in their time on this earth, because they have something in them that they must release to make humanity better. It's almost like imagining humanity if Einstein didn't exist, if he didn't come on the earth, if he didn't come into his fullness and gift humanity with an understanding of physics, of gravity, of motion, of all these things that he brought to the earth. You know, it's an understanding that imagine humanity as it was, and Abraham Lincoln didn't arrive, wasn't born in the United States, didn't have a passion to look at the injustice of slavery there and be forced to do something with it. It's saying, imagine if Mahatma Gandhi did not, as he grew up in the village that he grew up, didn't see other human beings, as in not just see with his eyes, but see with compassion and see with his soul, that here are people, my people, that are being oppressed, that are not living to their fullness, that are not enjoying the fruits of the land of their birth, and something is wrong with what I see, therefore I must fully become so that they are liberated. It's like imagining Nelson Mandela not seeing the injustice in South Africa and being moved to a point that says, you know what, I will die if I have to, but I must contribute to my nation and my generation to make this a beautiful place. Ubuntu says, imagine if you, in your family, in your home, in your workplace, in your community, in your nation, if you didn't see what is broken and the pain around you, and that seeing didn't move you to think, how do I need to empower myself so that I can actively contribute in the time that I have on this earth to make this a better place? That is really the essence of Ubuntu. Ubuntu owns what you see and looks within to see that I need to do something because I'm connected to what is in front of me. What is very powerful for me and why I believe it's very relevant is that Ubuntu defines how I see myself, it defines how I see you, and it defines how I see us together. There is no Ubuntu without realizing that I am beautiful and I am gifted and I'm worth living the life that I deserve. There is no Ubuntu that doesn't see that Black lives matter, brown lives matter, white lives matter. There is no Ubuntu that doesn't see that humanity is killing the continent and will leave nothing to our children. There is no Ubuntu without that. As a matter of fact, Ubuntu says that is an urgent mission for us as human beings, and everyone's existence must contribute to solving that problem. What I love about this notion is that it fundamentally underpins this relentless conviction and drive for basic human rights for all across the world. For us in our country, the most, Mandela basically is one of the living examples, the embodiment of this philosophy that and this very powerful statement he made is that I've dedicated my life to the struggle of the African people. I fought against white domination. I fought against black domination. I've cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society with all people, so that all people will live together in harmony and equal opportunities. You see, it's not, Ubuntu says all of us. Now, you and I know full well that that's like this beautiful utopia, right? Because there are very systems and things we continue to experience. So, for example, if you think of the bad side of capitalism, and in my head, the first thing that comes was the final bubble blowing and the big fall of Enron, where you see how a business with selfish interest could structure the economy and the markets in such a way that only a few people benefit, while everyone else's livelihood is undermined, which goes against the very principle that says seeing every human being. We see now, and I can, and Priya will clean it up when I'm all done and apologize on my behalf. But we see, and it's playing out anywhere as far as we can see, not just in the US, might I say, but across the world, where we see leaders even approach to a global pandemic being self-centered and about, again, just positioning themselves over the lives of people. We've seen in South Africa things like apartheid and all those things that, again, where a certain minority strategically try to undermine the humanity of others for self-interest. This goes on, you probably won't know who this is, but this is Charles Taylor from Liberia, one of Africa's most prolific dictators. And in this continent, we have experienced dictators initially through the name of revolution for the people, whatever they said, turned out to be far worse than what we've seen because of self-interest, either taking the minerals and the wealth of our nation for themselves, and really just changing lives of families and children. And things like economy and things like just the gender pay gap. Again, it's not true that there is a certain group of people that are less than others. But we see this injustice because someone strategically believes, if I can undermine the humanity of a certain group, undermine the humanity of dark-skinned people, undermine the humanity of of women, undermine the humanity of young people, they can manipulate us so that they can go through selfish interest. So the greatest threat for humanity, the greatest threat against human race is not all these things and all these people, but is that if someone can convince us that another is less human than we are, then wars will begin. So then we begin to see the connectedness of human. And personally, I appreciate this as a South African because that's what apartheid was. But I'm sure many of you can concur with what we see in the boardrooms. Unfortunately, we still see it today, where strategically there is an intent to try and disconnect our humanity and not see the power of the other. And let me explain what I mean. So one of the biggest lies, boardroom lies, I believe, that we've been told, and why it's the biggest lie, because it's lasted close to a lifetime, is that oftentimes you will sit as a woman and be the only woman in the boardroom table. And someone will whisper in your ear and say, do you know that that other woman is jealous of you? Or that other woman believes you are incompetent? Ooh, did you see that that other woman looked at you badly? And that is strategic because we then purport the notion that there is only room for one woman in the table. And we become the ones that become the gatekeepers and close out other women. Because strategically, they know that the more of us that come in, the more the status quo cannot remain. And so the age-old trick is to tell a lie about the other so that they can get locked out to access of whatever access to. And I continue to see this every day. And one of my messages throughout is together with friends and as women, when I get asked the question to say, but what about this notion that, you know, women don't believe in other people? I said, it's an absolute lie. Go and find one woman and ask them whether they don't have a girlfriend that they would die for, that they would vouch for, that they believe in. Inherently, that is who we are. Our nature is not to lock out, but our nature is to bring in. And so again, we are trying to be disconnected. But what I absolutely love about the human spirit, that when it is pushed up against the wall, it will go and connect itself again. We will try to preserve our shared humanity. And the examples, real life playing out examples, is when George Floyd gets, is unfortunately dies under the hands of police brutality. All over the world, everybody marched, regardless of age, regardless of gender, to say, yes, Black Lives Matter. I don't know if you remember in Nigeria, when the young girls were taken by a militia group called Boko Haram, across the world, everybody stood up to say Black Lives Matter. When we heard of a brutal shooting of Malala in Pakistan that was fighting for rural girls to get education, we were all outraged. And when humanity's back is against the wall, we will default to fighting for our shared humanity together. Because inherently, we understand and know that through Ubuntu, through our connectedness, our species will survive and thrive. COVID-19 for me is a classic example. We're told to go into our corners, we lock down, and what do you have? You have people that go across the world on balconies, reaching out to other humans, saying, I want to connect with you by any means necessary. All across the world, we saw these images that when our backs are against the walls, we go back to what we know will see us through. And that is our connectedness. And under any circumstance, humans will connect. If I'm to ask you all now, if we look at the nations so far, because this is a pandemic in motion, that have best handled the coronavirus response in their nations, what would you say connects all these nations? And I know all the ladies are gonna say it is because they are women. And I'm gonna say no. Yes, it's absolutely leadership, that's for sure. And the leadership has definitely been different, Ashuton, yeah? The heads of state led in a certain way. You are absolutely right. There was a certain distinct nature of how they demonstrated leadership. And I've seen many articles, and as great as they are, they've quickly rushed to say it's because they were women. And I beg to differ. I would say exactly what we saw was Ubuntu, exactly what Lynn just said. We saw leaders that showed up and drove a national response that was, first of all, exactly, Lynn, that was empathetic, that was compassionate, that was decisive, that was for the collective good of all. And of course, that used technology, right? Again, we have data that shows that those leaders that defaulted to the philosophy and the playing out the realization of values of Ubuntu were the ones that got us through. Now, I'm very excited of that. But in my mind, I kept asking myself, do we need a global pandemic, a crisis, before we can embrace Ubuntu in our schools, in our companies, and in our nation? Desmond Tutu, one of our leaders through the most difficult times in our country, describes a person with Ubuntu as this. A person with Ubuntu is open and available to others, affirming others, does not feel threatened that others are able and good, for he or she has a proper self-assurance that comes from knowing that he or she belongs in the greater whole and is diminished when others are humiliated or diminished when others are tortured and oppressed. I want you to think of the workplace today and think about how we find leaders that feel threatened as those under them are rising up and are demonstrating that they are good. How companies get into unscrupulous tactics because their competitors are doing better than that. And look at the result that we have right now in the marketplace and across the globe. One of my most favorite movies of all times, if you haven't seen it, it's an oldie. The weekend is still here. Please go watch Avatar. There's Avatar 1 and 2. I love the one in particular. And in one, I don't know if you guys have seen it. If you have, give me like a proper thumbs up, because this was, in my mind, it's one of my top 5 movies. And when they would greet an avatar, what they would say is, "I see you," and they meant through that, I not only see you physically, but I see your soul, your intent, your beauty, your power. And in the theme song, one of the lyrics in the theme song is, "I live through your love, I live through your life, I see you." And as the world faces all these crises, and these crises are born because we separate ourselves for selfish greed, whether it's in the marketplace, whether it's through, as we see in the health crisis with pharmaceuticals, across economies. And my big concern is what we are seeing as the fourth industrial revolution plays itself out. I can tell you now, the only way that we will rebuild is if we return to Ubuntu. And I want to go a little bit deeper today because I'm with Women Power Up, so I can call it as it is. For nations to fully realize the power of Ubuntu, and so that we can rebuild our society, women must rise up and lead. It is a fundamental criteria or a critical success factor as we try to think about the future. And let me tell you why. Women are nurtured in the spirit of Ubuntu from when we are babies. And most of us have lived through this. So when we are little children, we are the ones, and I can because I've got a 2-year-old little girl and I see it, and I've got a boy and a girl, and we consciously try to be neutral. But I'm surprised how my little one would still sit there and get all her teddy bears, and most of us have done this, and give them all tea. Already at that age, a 2-year-old girl is already learning the practice of Ubuntu, that all of us must be fed and all of us must be provided for, because when we all come to the tea party, it makes it more beautiful. All of us have had to care for our little brothers and sisters as we're growing up and have to figure out when our parents are busy what needs to be done. And all of us sit in meetings and boardrooms and workplace, and because we already have our 10,000 hours, we can see when others' giftings and talents cannot be seen. By the way, don't think when we own our 10,000 hours and our ability to see the other and our ability to bring forth beauty in the other, it doesn't mean we're not technical. It doesn't mean we don't know our jobs. As a matter of fact, we have both. We have both extreme technical competence as well as a nurturing spirit that can provide and make sure everyone has and is through the collectives. This means, yes, we can get the job done. But what's powerful about us specifically, and I'm generalizing, it doesn't mean it's true for all women and it doesn't mean it's not true for men, but you can take this to the bank. That by and large, in our leadership style as women, it believes not only are we technically competent, but we can realize not our full potential while we carry all these balls and take everyone along with us. You see, with the global crisis right now, we have to, in this exact moment, lean into the leadership of women now. We don't have another 10 years to kind of like reconstruct and figure out how to make markets work. No, leaders in business everywhere have to pull women forth, because we saw this in the response to the COVID crisis and we can see it again. One of the big themes is employee engagement. You know, sometimes we come with these very clever words. Employee engagement is that for the longest time, employees are coming to work, they're just widgets, as it were, in the second industrial revolution, and they're not realizing their full potential and contributing. That's Ubuntu. And I can tell you now, women leaders are able to do that. The challenge of the fourth industrial revolution, and you've seen this conversation where there's a slight nervousness that as computers are able to do everything else, what does it mean? What then makes us human? And I can tell you, ladies, we don't because we don't have this egotistical thing. We can sit comfortably in our power while everybody else shines. I can tell you now, even lots of companies now are looking for the empathy, coordination, people skills, creativity that we have been practicing for so many years since we were children. The fourth industrial revolution needs women to rise up because we were prepared for such a time as this. Very important for me. Ubuntu defines how I see myself, how I see you, and how I see others. And I can tell you right now, if women must rise up right now because the world needs us and unlock the philosophy of Ubuntu, it's going to mean, one, we have to see our individual beauty. And by the way, I use the word beauty in its holistic sense, as in your gifts, your talent, what makes you unique, your quirks, the way you approach things, the way you say it, the way you stand up, the way you lead, the way you are. We have to see it. And unfortunately, most of us have been bought into the lie that our beauty is skin deep, that we have shunned away from it. I often say, people say, yeah, but you've got a weird way of saying it. And I like to say, oh, but that's my beauty, because that's the color I bring. As women, we have to now rise and see the collective power. If you're a manager, the power in your team. If you're a mother, the power of every member of your family. If you are run a company, the power of every resource in their company and everyone in that nation. And ladies, I can tell you this, you have been in practice in the school of Ubuntu for years. you inherently are able to unlock combined genius, because that's what that connectedness is. I want to bring it to a close with this thought. And for me, Marianne Williamson might have not been aware that she is describing the whole concept of Ubuntu when she said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. In our light, not in our dark, it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people would feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some, it is in everyone. And this is the part I love. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That is what Ubuntu means. Ubuntu says, I am because you are. And in this world that wants to tell us consistently that we are not because we are short, we are not because we're not good in maths, we are not because we are women, we are not because we're white, we are not because we're Africans, we are not. It is time we stand up and say, we are because we are humans. And we have a collective responsibility to unleash what is within us where we are. Because when we do so, we give everyone permission to unlock their power to make this a better place. I cannot see how we rebuild our families, our businesses, our nation post this COVID crisis without going back to Ubuntu, without seeing ourselves, without seeing those around us and seeing their beauty. I cannot see how we are able to restore who we are fully without doing just that. Ladies, all I want to say today to you is that I am because I am, and my human beings continue. I am because you are. And I'm excited to see women across the world in an organization like yours saying, women power up, saying, what do you need to step up where you are? Because whatever you need, I have a collective responsibility to give it to you. Just leaving you with my last thoughts. What you do where you are ricochets across the whole world. We have the heroes and the people that I've given you examples of. We have Nelson Mandela. My apologies, hold on. We have a Nelson Mandela that is born in a rural village in South Africa, one of the most poorest areas in South Africa, and you know his name. What you do will echo throughout the whole world, and more importantly for me, for generations to come. If you want to know how you make your mark, embrace the spirit of Ubuntu. See you, see the person in front of you, and unlock greatness, because that's what the world needs right now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Priya.
And that was so powerful, Karobo. And yeah, you are saying I am because you are. I have many notes, okay? So I'm going to practice Ubuntu. And you said I am because you are. And I would say I am because we are all together. Yeah. And of course, you talked about many good things about the boardroom lies and how we as, human or women can take each other together. And I would tell you that, women in our society, in the Indian society, we actually stay in a family and also in an extended family, and we have the responsibility of taking them all together. So I think in some way we practice Ubuntu. And Karthik was also asking, that means women has the capability to kind of take everyone together. So Karthik, I hope you have no doubts here. But yes, and this is a very, very powerful discussion that we had today. We are because we are all human, and I am because you are and we are. And that is, I think, the key takeaways for me. We're going to go through the recordings again. If I have missed something, and, kind of try to imbibe in myself as well as in our community as well. So with this, Abhishek, you want to share your screen, and we will present you with a small token of appreciation. It is a certificate, a digital certificate. So please accept this from the Women Power of Network. So this is a small token of appreciation from our side, and for your time, and for giving us those powerful thoughts. And I cannot thank you enough. This is very small, but definitely our hearts are filled with gratitude. And I'm seeing a lot of good feedback coming on the chat as well. Yes.
But before that, Priya Karabo, I have a question. So is it
sure, go ahead. Agalya shares. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, Chip, we have been. I mean, Chip, I've been hearing Karabo. I've been hearing Karabo very precisely, and Chip, and many of our. I mean, we have also received many of the comments that women are born strong, born leaders. See, if that is the case, see, I also agree. I mean, see, there are a lot of attributes, lot of quality which women possess right from their birth. But I have a doubt. I mean, if that is the case, then why do we always talk about women empowerment? So empowerment is something for a community or for an individual who's a relatively weaker compared to others.
Mm-hmm. Karabo, you want to take that?
So, very good question, and we cannot deny the fact. I'm just going to let it be. My apologies, everyone. We cannot deny the fact that there has been some structural, some structural systems that have tried to keep people back. And to your point, business proves it today. When you bring women and you make them prime ministers or presidents, when you bring women into the boardroom, we can do this. So the notion that women were not smart enough, women were not strong enough, that was just a lie that people told because they had selfish interests. So for me, when we talk about women empowerment, there's two dimensions to it. It's not to say we cannot as women know. One, it's to say we have to give access to women to those places where they can express their abilities. But I have to confess, as a woman, we have to be reminded that we can. You see, some of us believed it for so long, or were told for so long that we started believing it. So oftentimes we second guess ourselves. It happens often, and I see this, and it happens to women and men, by the way, where you're sitting in a meeting and you've got an idea, but you don't ask it. And then someone else asks, and then you're like, exactly, and they're like, what a good question. And you're like, that's what I thought, because I had the thought. So unfortunately, we still stuck in second guessing ourselves. So when we talk about women empowerment, all we're doing is we're showing the mirror in front of women's faces, and they say, look at that superhero in the mirror. That is you. But we have to do this for everyone. We can't just focus on women, because all of us in some way or another, and I think we might need a men power up session as well.
Correct.
Because we're certainly seeing it in South Africa, where our men are falling behind, and they also need to hear the same message.
Okay.
That was a good answer, Karab.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Much. This was so insightful. But to follow up on Abhishek's question, unfortunately, we as women have not valued those qualities that we've come up with. And then when we move into leadership roles, we tend to model our own leadership patterns on men, and some of the worst leadership models out there. I mean, even John Maxwell, when he talks about leadership, says many people study leadership, for example, but they don't know how to apply the concepts in a way that's empathetic and compassionate, etc. And as women, when we get out front, we try to look like what the power structure says we should look like. And the women leaders that you showed, in terms of having had the best response to the pandemic, are women, if you understand, these are women who, until this point, have been highly criticized by some male leaders. So
Sure.
if you would comment on that, yeah.
Yeah, Karabo, you want to comment on that as well?
Absolutely. And if humanity to date has showed us that the leadership models that we have in business, that we have in nations, the data shows it doesn't work. It's not working. So as we build a new normal, the cry to us as women leaders is show up in your superpower that you have honed in for years. And that superpower sees everyone and collectively brings them together in a powerful way like those leaders. Right now, the leadership we need is not exactly what you said, Dr. Lynn. That's not going to play to the status quo. So as I run a tech software business, I'm there and I'm saying, I'm gonna love, I'm gonna care, I'm gonna nurture, and I'm gonna drive, and I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna direct, because it is those two that will unlock something. The world is yet to see what leadership looks like from a feminine perspective, from a Ubuntu perspective. And I say, let's just give them something to talk about.
This beautiful graphic on the screen right now, which are the takeaways from the session today. And please take the feedback. So Agalia, thank you very much for doing this live scribing. We will clap. Everyone, please clap for Agalia. And hey, yeah, are you trying to do something? Okay, it looks wonderful, and I see you've made Africa map as well. Yeah, it's very small on my screen, but I'm trying to look as much as possible. Yes, so Karabo, we will share this with you as well, so that you can propagate it further. Everyone who has attended this session will also get a copy of this. And please do take the feedback, and thank you everyone for joining the session, especially Karabo and our friends from South Africa and Hana early in the morning, and as well as all other members of Women Power of Network. We will be connecting again in December. November, we are busy with the PMO Global Alliance Conference. Do sign up for that conference. It's free. We'll get to learn a lot of things. We are speakers also over there. So we're doing little marketing about ourselves as well. So please do join. And that's it from my side.